Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of July 2022. This reading will be for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So by all means, if you know your major three placements, you can feel free to listen to any and all of the videos that may apply, as each one may resonate for you differently. And do keep in mind, all of the readings are general in nature, as they're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals. So not necessarily every detail that comes through will make sense for you. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate, however that makes sense for your specific situation, whatever that might connect to in your personal experience. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So Sagittarius, I hope June was good to you. I hope you're all doing well. Very excited to take a look at July. I will just make a disclaimer. I woke up not long ago and my voice is doing some funky things, so it almost sounds like I'm getting sick, but yeah, just a little hoarse this morning. But yeah, so I've got your card here. Obviously, we will pull some tarot, some affirmations, finish off with another oracle, but we will kick off the reading by starting with energetic impression and your channeled messages, which I took some time to sit down and connect to before I got your card out. So the energy that I picked up for you this month, Sagittarius, this may be a current energy. It may be something that's kind of been ongoing. It may be something that you know comes up for you in the month of July. But it was kind of like an apathetic type of feeling. So, just being kind of whatever about life or whatever about situations. And it's not necessarily in an actively negative or pessimistic way. Sometimes we can get into that energy if we're feeling tired or bored or understimulated, because it's kind of just that same old thing, right? So it's like you don't necessarily have the time or energy to be excited, or maybe you don't have anything that you're particularly excited about or that you're looking forward to. And so it's just kind of the sense that maybe your spark has been dimmed a little bit. Maybe you're feeling a little bit damp, and things are just kind of whatever. It's like maybe not awful, but not great. If that makes sense. And I also got this sense of like doing what I have to do, not what I want to do. And like not having a lot of excitement. So it might just be that you've got a lot on your plate, or you've got a lot of tasks or things that you need to do. And this could even pertain to like social situations as well. It's like, maybe your schedule is full of things that like you feel kind of obligated to attend, and they're not particularly things that you enjoy or that you want to do. And so maybe that's taking some of the focus off of the things that you would choose to do if you had that time free. I don't know. It really could be anything that's kind of creating that feeling. So it's just, yeah, I just kind of sensed like a lack of excitement, a lack of fun, a lack of adventure. So this is not to say that your month is going to be like that, but it might just be an energy that shows up for you, or that you could be struggling with. And so if that resonates for you, I would say like it might be time to just kind of do some reflecting and see like how can you inject a little more fun and adventure into your life. How can you carve out a little bit more time for yourself and the things that you want to do? Or maybe there's something new that you've never done before, or a place that you've never gone that you can kind of like schedule in, and to give yourself something to look forward to. I don't know. And then the last kind of sense that I got is like things feel like messy. And not messy in like a bad way necessarily, but it's kind of like things just feel kind of maybe uncertain, maybe disorganized. It's just like maybe there's like a lot of emotions there. It's not tied up with a neat and tidy bow. And it's kind of like the sense of almost being too spent or too tired to really do much about it. So it's like you've only got so much energy to like take care of everything, and so inevitably there's like a little bit of a mess because you might not have the resources to attend to everything that's calling for your attention, or maybe everything that's like weighing on you. And for your channeled messages, the first one that came through was all by myself, which like made me think of the Celine Dion song like immediately. So I don't know, you might want to listen to that song. If you don't like the song, I would at the very least read the lyrics and see if they resonate for you. Because yeah, the idea is kind of like maybe being a little bit lonely, feeling as though you're lacking connection, feeling a little bit maybe like left out or unable to relate to the people around you, disconnected. This could be as a result of like you and what you're going through and being in your own head, and maybe, you know, not reaching out or not connecting. It could be the people around you, maybe being a little bit off limits, or maybe having walls up so you can't connect with them. So I'm not sure how that might apply to you, but you know, that feeling of loneliness, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean we have to be locked away in like the highest tower away from humanity to feel lonely. Like you can feel perfectly lonely and still be surrounded by people if you're just not having the types of connection and like the depth of connection that is meaningful to you. So I would take a look at, you know, what makes you feel best in your relationships, what makes you feel most connected, who do you connect most to? Are there areas that may need a little bit of focus? Are there people that you can rely on for connection while you're feeling a little bit lonely? And just, you know, do whatever prioritizing is needed so that that isn't wearing on you, I guess. The next message that came through for you was mesmerizing. So it's the idea, it was kind of like a very daydreamy feeling, something that's really like captivating, that kind of just grabs your attention and draws you in. And it's like also allowing yourself, right? Allowing yourself to be mesmerized, allowing yourself to be captivated, to just like be present in that moment and to enjoy whatever it is. So it could be like, it could be live music. It could just be like laying outside in the sunshine and watching the clouds go by. Like it could literally be anything. But there is kind of a sense of like, it almost feels a little bit magical, right? And it's like maybe it's like that little magic spark and just connecting to something that moves you and feels like captivating and mesmerizing that might kind of regenerate you in a sense. The next message that came through was invaluable resource. So it's like something like a resource that you have that is like extremely useful, like indispensable. You can't do without it. And it's like, it's so valuable that you almost can't put a number on it. You can't quantify how important it is or how valuable it is to you. So that immediately makes me think of like our energy, right? So our energy, our personal energy is a resource because that kind of drives everything that we do for ourselves, in our internal world, in the physical world, in our relationships with other people, like at home, with friends, at work. Like literally it all starts with us. And if you think about it, like, you know, we in a sense have kind of a finite amount of energy each day, right? Like we've got an amount to work with before we feel really drained, and pushing ourselves to do more and more would end up being detrimental beyond that point. So I think it's recognizing, well, like what, and it might not be energy for you, it might be time, it might be like all of those things are important, but it might be worth taking a look at what you feel your most valuable resource is, and, you know, how do you use that? Right? Are you budgeting it? Are you aware that you've only got so much to work with? And are you being like kind to yourself in the way that you are budgeting that, so that you've got time to do some of the things that need to be done, but also the things that you need for yourself? And are other people aware of just how valuable your time and effort are, right? So there might need to be boundaries around energy and time, or your resources, and recognize that you can't just be running yourself ragged every day and like going into an energetic deficit, because that's just going to be emptying your cup, and you can't care for others, let alone for yourself, if your cup is not full, or if you're not getting some of that energy back, and if you're not being given the opportunity to pour those resources into yourself, but also to have them regenerated, right? And I would say like our time, energy, and attention are just as important as like the more tangible things like money and material goods, right? Because that is what allows us to do the work in the physical world that gets us that abundance. So I think it's important to recognize that that it's just as important, even if it's not attached to like a number, if that makes sense. The next message that came through for you was memorable occasion. So it's like an event or a milestone, like either something maybe that's coming up, something that you're looking forward to, something that's already passed that you enjoy reflecting on. But, you know, it's like, it would be like a really heartfelt, memorable occasion, memorable moment that's like you'll not soon forget. Maybe you look back on it fondly. Maybe you're looking back on it and setting it as a benchmark for like where you feel you should be now and seeing that there's a bit of a deficit. I don't know how that might. So there could be some reflection or longing for the past, or it could be something that you're very much looking forward to and like kind of projecting into the future. So that's funny because right after that message came through, the last message that came through for you was be here now. So it's like, be in the present moment. I think it's important to honor the past, the experiences that we've had, the places that we've been, and to recognize that that has played an important role in shaping us and our relationships and everything that we experience. But we don't want to live there, and we don't want to revisit the past longing to recreate it, right? Because that just takes us out of the present moment, and the present moment is the only place where we have power. So it's kind of like, don't worry about the past, don't worry about the future, because the present moment is the only place that you can actually take any action. It's the only place that it matters. And I think it's just like kind of a reminder to like, whatever you're doing right now, you know, focus your time and attention on doing that, on getting as much out of that experience as you can. And also like channeling as much of your energy and intention into whatever you're doing, because it's like, if you're projecting yourself into the future and thinking about how you'd like things to be, that's all well and fine, right? Sometimes it's helpful to kind of get that vision, to know what we're working toward, but it can drain our power, which we need in the present moment to take action in a way that will help manifest that future that we're looking for, right? So if you find yourself drifting into the past or into the future a lot, I would just say like it might be good to have a practice to kind of bring yourself back to center, bring yourself back into the present moment, perhaps like some breathing techniques to get you back into your body and experiencing this moment now and seeing like, you know, what can I do now, right? So whatever you're thinking about related to the past or the future, figure out like what that's connected to, and like what can you do now for yourself to try and like work through that or alleviate it. Because especially when it comes to like the future, if you're worrying now in the present moment, what is that shaping for your future? A future of worry, really. So that is your final reminder. And funny enough, we'll get to your oracle card, but I just finished channeling that message and writing it down in my book so that I could recall it for you. And I started shuffling the deck, and this is what came up here and now. So don't think it's a coincidence. So yeah, present moment awareness, being present, kind of focusing on your power. It could very well be a major theme for you this month. And it can be really hard if you don't have a tendency or have a practice to help you be in the present moment. It can be a difficult adjustment to make because, you know, we're almost taught to live for the future, right? Or to like long for the past and try and recreate those past experiences that have been enjoyable in the future, right? And the fact is that, you know, that isn't necessarily what's best for us. And becoming caught up in past or future, it actually kind of takes us out of our own personal awareness of like what we feel, what we think, what we need. And it has us focused on something that is attached to another period of time and maybe a past version of ourselves. So it's really hard to create the life that you want to live intentionally if you're not kind of in the present moment, aware of what's going on with you and what the most effective kind of use of your energy and focus would be. And it's to remind yourself also that even from an energetic standpoint, when you look back at the past and long for the past, and you're reliving memories and feeling sentimental, that can be really like that. Yeah, like it can be a nice thing to do. But if you find yourself consistently looking to the past and how things used to be and how they're not that way anymore, and you're constantly making comparisons, or like looking at where you are now and projecting yourself into the future, it's a lot of time and energy. Even though it might not be easy to quantify, it takes a lot of energy for you to do that. And so that energy is basically just being leaked and lost. And that energy, right? You think about imagination, right? Because that's basically what you do when you recall the past or project into the future. You're using your imagination, you're using your mental energy, and you're kind of daydreaming about what was or what could be. And the thing is, that is the very energy that we use to set intentions to focus on our goals so that we can take action right now. So like that energy is what powers us to be, taking action, making decisions, moving forward right now. And the thing is, the past and the future don't really matter at all, because we can't do anything with either of those. And neither of them are real. They're just constructs in our mind. They're things that we imagine. And so it's kind of difficult to recognize that, sometimes we may be spending most of our valuable energy, this invaluable resource that's the most important kind of resource that we have. Sometimes we can waste that daydreaming about something that will never ever make a difference and isn't even real, right? So it's making sure that we are aware of our personal power, and that personal power can only really take effect right here and right now in this present moment. So if there's something that you're looking back on from the past and feeling a certain type of way about, then it's time to take a look at yourself and what you're experiencing. What do you need to do for yourself now? Are you worried about something? Does how the past was versus now make you worried about something? What are you worried about? What is the best way for you to manage that worry, or to take steps in a direction that is going to be beneficial for you, right? So it's like, focusing on the present moment allows us to take ownership and action, and to actually step into a role where we're ready to start manifesting something that's going to be positive. And if you're projecting into the future, it's like, what are you hoping for? What are you worried about, right? Like what is it when you look to the future? What is it that kind of goes through your mind? And what can you do right now in each moment that you're given to either move toward that goal or that dream, or to maybe it's something you're hoping to avoid, right? So it's just kind of getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And it's like, what do you do with that information? Like, why are you thinking about these things? What does that mean about your situation? What does that mean about the action that you need to take, or how you need to start showing up? And bring it back to yourself, because whatever you focus on ultimately will become your reality, right? Because it's that intention, that focus, that causes you to take action. And so sometimes subconsciously, especially if we're projecting into the future, and it's in a worried sense, sometimes subconsciously we worry so much about what might happen that we're just kind of like on that frequency, and we're so tuned into that energy that it's impacting the decisions that we make, and it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So the power is yours. And whatever that you're working on, like right now, like if you can stay in the present moment and you can stay focused on what's important to you and what you're trying to kind of create or manifest, it's almost like that energy is amplified right now, because this is a major theme. It seems like this is something that you're meant to focus on, you're meant to kind of maybe become acquainted with, if it's not something that you've done before, or perhaps like begin to master, so that you can start making better use of your energy, and that energy can start resulting in the manifestation of the things that you're longing for, so that you don't have to be so occupied by past or present, and you can be happy now, right? Because a lot of times when we do look in either direction, it can be longing for happiness or wishing for happiness, because the situation that we're in right now doesn't feel happy or doesn't feel satisfying. And the thing is, you can feel that happiness now, even if you're not where you want to be, because connecting to that and recognizing that it's already available to you is only going to get you on that frequency, which is going to help you make the decisions that will ultimately bring you more of whatever it is that you're seeking. So the present moment is all that's available to you. And each moment is only available now. And as soon as it's past, it's gone forever. It's not even real. It's just a memory. And our memory of what has happened isn't even necessarily accurate. It's kind of like a personal projection, a personal assumption about what's happened. That's why, 5 people can experience the same thing at the same time and have a different memory or recall different details or have had an entirely different experience, right? So it's like memory is also subjective. And a lot of times our memories amplify things and make things out as better than they were, if that makes sense. So it's like you can't even necessarily trust your memories of the past or your projections into the future, because it's not something real or concrete. It doesn't exist, right? All that exists is here and now, and that's where your power is most effective. And it's like recognizing what's going on right now, what's calling for your attention, what is longing to be created, what's longing to be remedied, what are you longing to experience, and how do you start connecting with that right here and right now? Because if you can consistently from moment to moment connect with that and weave that into your life is very quickly going to transform. And that is kind of like, one of the major keys for manifesting your dreams. And so it's kind of like, even if there's something that you're working toward in the future, try not to focus like way far down the road, right? Because it's not that you can't have that dream or that goal, but it's like, try not to put it off too far. And it's like, focus on creating that dream life for yourself right now, right? So it's kind of like letting go of desire, because desire quite often blocks manifestations and it gets us into that like overthinking kind of energy. But know that whatever you're longing for exists. And if you can focus on creating that for yourself right now in the moment, it will appear, right? It's kind of just the way that things work, because when you are in that energy and you are creating that for yourself consciously in each present moment, then you have the ability to kind of impact the world around you, and things start to fall into place, right? I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I want to highlight for you. Yeah, I think that's it. So we'll get you some cards. I'm trying to make the readings a little bit shorter this month, but haven't been that successful so far. But because my hope has been that if the readings are a little bit shorter, then maybe I can do a mid-month check-in, which at this point I might end up doing just like by element. Okay, dropped a couple of cards, so let's get you a second card. But yeah, it's funny. I've been pulling less cards, and it's like, it seems like I can still talk for like an hour. Okay, so you had 2 cards come out for this second placement. Okay, so you have the 4 of Pentacles, and then 8 of Cups, and the Tower, and the 8 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So I'm going to clarify those right away, and then we'll read them all. So 4 of Pentacles is clarified by the King of Wands. I might just get one clarifier for this 2-card placement, just because there's already a lot going on there. Don't mind if you can hear stuff going on in the background. My neighbors are doing a bunch of backyard construction, so there's voices and machinery constantly. Okay, so 8 of Cups in the Tower, clarified by the 4 of Cups. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Sun. Okay. So this is interesting because at the bottom of the deck, this is like the underlying energy. We have the Eight of Wands, which is kind of like a very passionate, very fast moving type of energy. It can be like really inspired. It can involve a lot of communication, a lot of interaction with other people. But yeah, the basis is that it's like a card of fast movement, and it's kind of like whatever you're doing, like a situation may have progressed really quickly, or it's like something that you're working on might have moved forward more quickly than expected, but it's kind of like this fast movement almost toward happiness, if that makes sense. So this could be a focus. This could be a focus on like trying to become happy, to connect with joy, to be the best version of yourself. This is also a card of like, childlike wonder. It can be having children, connecting to your inner child, doing inner child healing. But yeah, this is like the happiest, most joyful card in the deck, right? The sun, it is, the light of your life, what lights you up, the people and places that feel like sunshine. And it's how connecting to that happiness and joy and allowing it to impact our lives can kind of transform us on a deeper level, right? So there's kind of like fast movement toward joy. So there could have been something that you associated with joy, or that you figured was going to be like your be all end all happiness, and you were like charging toward it. And things were kind of just like moving really quickly and falling into place. Or it could be a decision that it's like, okay, things are not as I want them to be. I really need to connect with more joy. I really need to kind of do my healing work and and move toward this life that's going to be inspired and joyful, like now, right? So I don't know, there's just kind of like, there's a lot of energy there. And so your block is actually showing up. So this is your block or your challenge or the energy that might be blocking you from your kind of like moving on, moving forward on your path. So it's showing up as the Four of Pentacles and the King of Wands. So this could have to do with money, finances, saving, spending. It could have to do with career, home life, like anything in the material world, or focused on like practical material abundance and resources. And there could be a sense of just not having enough resources, or perhaps fear of having too little in the way of resources. Maybe there's like concern that you're not progressing, you're not going to be saving, you're not going to have the material, you're not going to have the means to acquire the types of material items or the type of lifestyle that you want to have. Because this is kind of like the miser card. It can be like clinging really tightly to whatever abundance that you do have, for fear that you're not going to have anymore. And so, this can also be a card of being frugal, or being, it doesn't have to be cheap, right? It can just be a card of, or an energy of just being very conscious about your money, about your resources, spending wisely, making good decisions so that you're not kind of putting yourself in the hole unnecessarily. So there's like the shadow and the light side. But the trouble is that if we are in an energy where we feel like we don't have enough, and so it's like we have to hold on really tightly, because if we already don't have enough, like maybe we're not going to get any more, and so it's not safe, right? Like we don't necessarily feel safe or stable, or we're trying to kind of protect ourselves, saying, well, if I have this, like I don't want to risk losing it, even if that means that I get more, because it's like you kind of limit yourself to a material or financial comfort zone, because it's scary to think that you could lose, but also that letting go of some of that money or some of those resources, might actually allow you to bring in more. So this could be it could be dealing with a lack mindset when it comes to money and resources, feeling limited, feeling constricted, feeling not particularly satisfied. And the idea with this is that, like, obviously, yes, we have to be like financially responsible. We don't want to be taking unnecessary risks and like squandering all of our money and making our lives difficult. Or this doesn't have to be just money, but material resources, anything that basically like allows us to be prosperous and successful and comfortable in the material world. Um, and the thing is, you know how they say like sometimes you have to spend money to make money? So it's like to a certain extent that is true, right? So even when it comes to charity, right? It's like being willing to share your resources, being willing to share your abundance, not in a situation where it puts you into debt or it makes things more difficult for you, but recognizing that, you know, there might be a certain amount that you can share. And being willing to recognize your abundance and share that with people and not just cling tightly to it and keep it all to yourself. It might seem counterintuitive, but it actually puts you in an energy where you are giving and you're open to receive. And what you kind of put out into the world has the opportunity to come back to you. Because if your arms are full, clinging to all of the things that you need to hold on to for yourself, you don't have any room and you don't have an open arm to receive, right? And if all you're doing is focusing on what you have and holding on to it, you're not necessarily seeing the ways that you can connect with more, and you're not necessarily allowing yourself to be open to situations that might allow more to come to you. And this is coming up with the King of Wands. So this could be, the King of Wands could represent a person, it could represent you, it could represent someone that you're dealing with, or it could just be the general energy. But the King of Wands is like a very solid, very stable individual. He's loving, he's charismatic, you know, he's magnetic, he's a strong leader. And it doesn't have to be male. I just say that because that's what's on the card. But yeah, so it's a very strong and focused and determined energy. It's also kind of a visionary energy. And the trouble with the King of Wands energy is that it's like the King of Wands isn't the one that goes out and does all of the work, right? The King of Wands is the one that has the vision and that gathers the troops and kind of keeps everybody focused and motivated on achieving the goal. And so that could be you. Like maybe it's difficult. Maybe you have a vision. Maybe you have a vision when it comes to material stability or gaining financial abundance. Maybe you have a method of approaching it that is solid and concrete and viable, but perhaps you're not standing up for yourself, or perhaps you're not kind of getting into this energy where people are recognizing that you've got a vision and recognizing that that it's worth working towards, right? So there's kind of like a clash between the material, like abundance in the material world, and like the passionate, inspired vision for just day-to-day life and also the future. So the thing is it's recognizing it could be connecting more to your vision for the future, and your inspiration, because that could be the thing that kind of helps connect with more resources. There could be, you know, it could be entrepreneurial, there could be something career related that's longing to be connected with, that has to do with your passion, your inspiration, your creativity, and the things that light you up. Or it could be like perhaps a leadership role, stepping into kind of like management. But there's some kind of resistance, because this is showing up as your challenge. So it's like working through this ability to like set a vision and to inspire and to know how to motivate people to work toward it. So this could be motivating yourself. It could be motivating somebody else. Because you know these energies clash, right? Because the king is not going to be a miser, right? And it's kind of like knowing how to use your resources in such a way that you have what you need, but you're also open to expanding them and receiving more. And recognizing that if you're caught in a low place of fear and anxiety about your resources and about your abundance, it's really hard to connect with more. So this could be a sense of like maybe needing to connect with gratitude more. This is like, to be honest, it's kind of a confusing energy. So I'd be curious to see how it makes sense for you. But there is like some clashing of this energy. And I feel like it's almost like needing to embrace this King of Wands energy and all of the potential and all of the wisdom too. There's like I said, he's a strong leader and a wise visionary. So it's like perhaps there is a vision for stepping out of this Four of Pentacles and saying like, I want more. We can have more. This is how we do it. And it might just need to be like recognizing and stepping into that energy, or you might be contending, working against that energy, and it will really be different for each and every one of you. And so your recommendation for kind of overcoming or clearing this challenging energy has showed up as the Eight of Cups and the Tower. So the Eight of Cups is all about being willing to walk away from the things that just aren't working. So cups, it's all about, love, connection, happiness, joy, fulfillment, emotional depth and connection. And each cup kind of represents an opportunity for us to have that happily ever after, like that fulfillment, that love, that abundance, right? It's kind of like our wish when it comes to, happiness and fulfillment. And as you can see, this cup is filled with fire, which is the absolute opposite of what it should be, right? So it's kind of like this may have been a potential opportunity for abundance, for love, for fulfillment. It might have been something that you were working toward, thinking that it was going to be, that kind of wish fulfilled or take you in the direction of the life of your dreams, and perhaps it hasn't panned out to be that way. And it's recognizing that that's okay, right? Because sometimes just being on that path, having that experience and coming to the realization that that's not what we need, that's what is meant for us. We're not meant to see it through to completion, and it's not meant to be the be all end all. It's just meant for us to kind of work through so that we can get that clarity that nope, this isn't it, and then you can move to the next thing. So this could be something that you're dealing with currently. It could be something from your past that maybe you feel obligated to reconnect with or to see through. And it's just like doing yourself the service of knowing that like that's not going to be it for you. That's not going to be fulfilling. It's not going to be healthy. It's not going to take you in the direction you're looking to go in. It's kind of like a broken cup that isn't viable anymore. And instead of trying to fix it or remedy it or make it work, it's best just to recognize like, hey, this isn't for me, to walk away from it, to close the door on it, leave it in the past, and recognize that you're not bound to that. You don't have to stay stuck in that energy. You don't have to see that through to completion, because it's all about your feelings. And if your feelings are telling you, no, this isn't it, and I'm not fulfilled, and this isn't the thing for me, why would you commit yourself to trying to find emotional happiness and fulfillment and joy in something that you know isn't bringing that to you, right? So it's knowing that you always have the opportunity to walk away, and that even if there isn't something obvious lined up that is that kind of like next cup or that wish, it's recognizing that sometimes in order to connect with that next thing or to have clarity about what really is going to work, we have to disconnect ourselves from the things that are not working. So it's like this can be also like leaving the past in the past, accepting what isn't working, and just acknowledging that it's okay to not have a very clear idea, but you're walking toward the horizon and there's sunlight there. There's opportunity there. And yeah, in order to be able to connect with opportunity, we can't have our energy tied up, and especially not in things that we know are not working. And like sometimes the Eight of Cups is depicted as like 8 broken cups, and it's like, those are 8, maybe 8 broken dreams or 8 disappointments or 8 things that didn't work out. So it's like you can't just relegate yourself to focusing on all the things that haven't worked, or on all the things that were disappointing, or on all the things that promised you happiness that didn't necessarily work out that way, or that maybe you had happiness for a period of time and you've outgrown that and you're ready to move on. So it's kind of like you can't relegate yourself to what has happened. That's also a very past focused energy, and cups and water energy tends to be very sentimental. So it could also just being willing to let go of the past and the things that colored your past and that weren't working, and trust that closing the door on it is allowing you to kind of move in a better direction. And the nice thing is that the next card in the deck is the Nine of Cups, which is the wish fulfillment card, right? So it's kind of like, if you could have anything and everything, what would that be, right? What does your dream life look like? And allowing yourself the opportunity to connect with that. So you can't really connect with a beautiful and untainted vision for your future and your happiness when you're focused on what currently isn't working right now, right? So that kind of just lends to the here and now as well, is that maybe right now you're in this transitional space where you're trying to leave the past behind and you're trying to figure out what a happy future looks like, and you might be on that journey. And that can be a really uncomfortable place to be because there's nothing quite solid to cling to. And so for that to come up with the Tower, it's like you may actually be going through a Tower moment. You may be going through like a major change or transition or loss. So this could be like a crumbling down of anything. It could be loss of a job or money or house, a partner, a person. It could be like a crumbling down of your identity, right? So like maybe a loss of a sense of self or a loss of a sense of direction. So it doesn't have to be something like in our physical environment. It can be more like energetic and emotional in terms of this major, because this is a major strike, a major change, and it kind of destroys what was. And so on a less tangible level, this can be, coming to a realization, and that realization shakes you to your core, and you realize like, hey, it could be the realization that, hey, this is not it. This is not my happiness. And maybe that was deeply connected to you on a personal level or connected to your sense of self. And so it's saying, well, if this isn't it, then who am I and what do I want and where am I going? Right? So it's like you could be on a very personal journey of self-discovery, and you could be in a difficult time because this is kind of like a sense of loss, right? There can be a sense of loss or sadness or grief because whatever has been lost, whatever has been changed indefinitely. Like there's no fixing it, there's no repairing it, there's no going back. And so this Tower kind of moment really does require us to be in the present moment, to be in our body, to be in our experience, and to figure out like what it is that we're going through. Because the Tower, as much as it can feel destructive and it can kind of take things away from us and remove our comfort, it's also like a major period of transformation, because whatever has been cut down is meant to go and wasn't serving you. Whether you're attached to it or not, it's recognizing that, the universe is not going to take away something that is destined or beneficial to you. So this is kind of like, it's almost like hitting the reset button and saying like, you can't get to where you want to be being the version of yourself that you were, or being tied to this specific thing. So with this thing gone and out of your way, you have no choice but to figure out, who do you want to be? Who are you now? What's important to you? And where do you want to go? Right? So it's like you could be on a journey in this space where you're kind of like trying to overcome the loss, or this kind of new level of awareness around something that wasn't working for you or hasn't been emotionally fulfilling, and then trying to figure out like, okay, I've kind of got to start over, or I have to give myself the opportunity to be shaped by this experience and to move in a new direction, right? And it's funny because this is clarified by the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is actually very much the energy of like apathy that I was saying. I was kind of picking up on things, just being kind of like whatever. So it's like Four of Cups can be very focused on the past as well, past experiences, past opportunities for love and abundance and fulfillment and connection that either happened and you outgrew, or that didn't pan out or turn out the way that you wanted them to. And it can be really just focused on that sense of like, shit, this didn't work, or I wish this worked, or could I have done something differently? There can be a lot of ruminating about like past experiences, past emotions. This can have to do with love and connections and relationships as well. And so it's kind of like getting so caught up in maybe even just being a little bit demoralized about the things that haven't worked, or the things that you feel like were working but have been kind of taken away from you, that you're not necessarily realizing that your story isn't over, right? It's like you didn't have like a finite number of opportunities for happiness and they all screwed up and now you're just here stuck for the rest of your life, right? It's recognizing that there's always going to be another cup, but you have to have that connection to yourself, and you have to have that intrinsic motivation to want to connect with it and to believe, to have hope that the things that didn't work out didn't work for a reason, or the things that have ended for a reason. And it's for your personal growth and development to help you step into a more aligned, authentic, and happy version of yourself, because we're always changing. And if we limit ourselves to just one experience, or we try to hold on to that one experience for the rest of our lives, thinking that it's comfortable or that it will make us happy, really we're just going to kind of trap ourselves in an energy where we can't possibly be happy, because we're resisting our change and our growth. And we're not honoring the fact that as we have experiences, what we want out of life, what we enjoy, what we need, changes and morphs. And that's a natural process, because we're always kind of going to be going through these cycles where we're focused on one thing, and then we get there, and then it's like on to the next, right? Like, we're not meant to sit still or stagnate in an old energies. So yeah, there may be some kind of like transformation that you're undergoing. And I would just say, like, emotionally, there could be some stuff that you kind of have to work through, heal, let go, close the door on, because if you have the opportunity to rebuild and to kind of refocus and to figure out like what your next step is in terms of your emotional fulfillment and love and connection in your life, it's like you can't be holding on to that energy and expecting to connect with anything new. So yeah, there might just need maybe some like emotional expression, just reconnection with yourself, maybe talking about your feelings. It's just kind of like not internalizing it and holding on to it. So I don't know. Yeah. And like recognizing that even if things aren't the way that you want them to be right now, that there's always the opportunity in the future. But like I said, we can't project into the future. It's like now is the only moment that we have to get closer to that future that we are looking for. So if you get caught up in your emotions, caught up in your head, caught up in analysis, it might be helpful to just see like, what do I need right now? And how do I start giving that to myself? Because when you start living the life that you want and living your happiness, living your joy, living your dreams, then inevitably like that's going to start manifesting in your physical reality. So it's like doing it for yourself first and recognizing that you deserve that. So your first affirmation: I speak with confidence because the world needs my light. This is very much the King of Wands energy. The King of Wands is very confident, very charismatic. He kind of knows what's right for him. And it's like not allowing anyone to dim your shine because they think that they know better than you, or they're more intelligent than you, or they're more organized than you. It's recognizing that you have something valuable to share. Even if the people around you don't see it, it's like it's important for you to stand in your power and to share what you believe in. Because if you are allowing yourself to play small and to keep that light to yourself, it's like that could be part of the thing that's keeping you from connecting to your happiness and your inner joy, because you're a fire sign. That's your job, is to kind of like shine that light. And then true abundance is an inside job. So that goes really nicely, especially if abundance is on your mind, or you're working with limited resources and you're kind of feeling uncomfortable about the future. It's recognizing that, there's only so much that you can do with the material resources right now. But the method of connecting to abundance is really doing that inner work and fixing your mindset, connecting to your power, using that power in the present moment to focus on like what you can do for yourself. And it's kind of like you have to transform your ideas, your beliefs, your values, and to make sure that the actions that you're taking right now are aligned with abundance, and recognizing the abundance that you have, practicing gratitude, sharing the wealth, and knowing that like having that open kind of grateful relationship with abundance is what helps bring in more, not like obsessing over it or worrying about whether you have enough, right? So it's kind of like there might be some need to overcome that lack mentality, because you have everything that you need to be successful. And the more that you connect with that and allow that to move you through life, the more that will be drawn to you in like the material sense. So we'll get you one last oracle card to tie things up. And this is the Starseed Oracle. So is very spiritual in nature. It's a little bit out there. I would say, like, if you're interested in the spiritual stuff, like, it might be interesting for you to see. But if it's a more practical kind of advice that you're looking for, I would just pay attention to anything that comes up, like when I read from the book. So you've got activated earth, power places, ley lines, trust where you're led. Okay, so I'm just going to read this right from the book for you. So it says, ley lines are invisible pathways on the land along which energy travels. They can be sensed when we tune into them with our subtle senses. Also known as spirit paths, they've been compared to the meridian systems of the body used in Chinese medicine, and they link sacred sites, stone circles, burial mounds, and places of work. I don't know why I'm struggling with my words so much. Let me start again. Okay, also known as spirit paths, they've been compared to the meridian systems of the body used in Chinese medicine, and they link sacred sites, stone circles, burial mounds, and places of worship worldwide. In Australian Aboriginal culture, song lines were the paths traveled by the creator beings as they made the land and sea during the dreaming. These paths were recorded in the traditional songs and dances of the people, allowing them to access information about the land's history and to travel safely across great distances. Many believe that as we visit such sacred points on Earth, something is activated within us. Some also believe that by connecting with the land with devotion at these sacred places, something is activated with the planet too. Are you being called to travel to a sacred place that your soul remembers, or tend the land that you live on? To honor and acknowledge the known and unknown keepers of nature spirits of that land? As you connect with the earth and honor its keepers, the land opens up more fully to hold you. The fruits provide more nourishment, and the guardians watch over you. And then there's an activation that says, place the card on the portal of your heart and whisper the following. I honor and thank the keepers of the earth beneath me, known and unknown. Thank you for your nourishment and tender holding. So what I would say is, getting out of nature, connecting to the earth, that might be something that's really important. Grounding in nature might be helpful in terms of getting you into your body, into the present moment, working through any kind of like anxiety that you might have. And it's paying attention to the places that you go, or the places that you experience, like out in nature, out in the world, that you feel most drawn to, or that you kind of resonate with. Like if there's a specific place that calls to you, or your favorite place, and maybe your favorite place because there's some kind of like spiritual or energetic connection. There might be something there to be discovered. So I would just pay attention to any place that resonates with you, any place that calls to you, and that might be helpful to kind of incorporate, into your life if possible, to just, I don't know, help you maybe on a little bit more of a spiritual level, especially if you're working on your present moment awareness and just kind of owning your power, being in the now. I would also recommend, if you haven't read it, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That's a really awesome book. It's a lot. I had to read it in little chunks, and I would have to like read and reread, but it really can kind of help anchor down and give you a framework for present moment awareness, and like kind of recognizing that a lot of the stuff that we put on ourselves is just imagined. So yeah, I would consider taking a look at that, or reading it, or just doing the audiobook if you're not big into reading. But yeah, Sagittarius, I am going to leave your reading here. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and if this was helpful, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube or leave a comment. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that would benefit from my readings, you can feel free to share my content with them. And don't forget to head to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Check out my other videos, and make sure you're not only subscribed but signed up for notifications so that you can stay up to date on new readings as they're posted. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope July is good to you. I hope that you guys can enjoy some time just kind of grounding in your own energy and really stepping into creating your happiness for yourself right now. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what August will have in store. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.